Yeah, it's tire wear, tire roar, tire problems. The tires are broken. How can that be? How can a tire be broken? So, as you can understand, when the tire is being made, it's being made, firstly, you have an inner structure. It's called the carcass of the engine. Not the carcass, the band, but the carcass, the structure of the tire. Only then you have the tread wear, okay? Now, when you have problems inside of the structure of the tire, the inner structure, that obviously will be reflected on the surface of the tire. When you have tires that have this pattern over here, on this picture, some tread locks are raised and another ones are lower, and that creates a sound when that is touching the ground. Now you have only the patch that is touching the ground. Some of it is not actually touching the ground, is raised up. And that part of the tire hitting the floor, hitting the tarmac, is actually making a sound resembling a wheel bearing. It is very interesting. Now, how can you be sure that is the tire and not the wheel bearing? Here we have two tires, a pair of tires that are no more than a wall hanger because they are broken. How can we test if a tire is broken? What I like to do is to pass my hand on the surface on the tire, and what I can actually feel is on this inner side of the tire. Normally it actually happens almost always on the inner side of the tire, is that this part here has low spots and high spots. As you pass your hand, you actually feel your hand grooving around the tire, surfing the tire almost, okay, on this side over here. On this left side you can actually compare. This side is round, okay, and this side over here is full of holes and high spots. Normally, and actually on the higher spots, you can see over here, the tire is actually more worn out than is on the lower spot. And it's not easy to see, but you can see that, or maybe on this one, you can see, oh yeah, this is lower, higher, lower, higher, lower. Okay, this is have a lot of dust, but on that image that I showed you, you can actually see on the car that runs every day the high spot, low spot, high, low, high, low, high, and so forward. So it is very important to feel and know how to feel when a tire is becoming like this. If you have a relatively new tire and is actually doing this, you should claim the warranty on that tire. Of course, you must see if your shock absorbers and your wheel alignment is perfect. So, how can you avoid such problem? It depends on the car, or the type of car that you have, okay? And also depends on the brand of the tire that you have. In my experience, and I am doing this professionally since 2007, I handle hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of tires, and in my experience, the worst tires that you can have, it is a soft carcass tires. Now you basically have soft carcass tires and hard carcass tires. Now, to name a few, the soft carcass tires are made mainly by Michelin. What? How can that be? Michelin is the worst, one of the worst tire brands I know. Oh, yes, the worst. For so many reasons. And it is even worse on the sub-brands of Michelin. I mean, Orium, Cormoran, Tiger, it is all bullshit. It's really, really, really bad. It makes me angry almost, because people do spend a lot of money on Michelin products, and they don't last 2 years. It's awful. It's really bad. You have tire noise. You have the performance of the body of the car. It's completely shot. It's rubbish. I have problems with cars that the back end of the car, it's really bad. It becomes really bad because of the type of tires. Now, calm down. Okay, what you should do is to use hard carcass tires, and strangely enough they are cheaper than the soft ones, at least from Michelin. So the hard carcass tires have a better structure in order to hold on the body of the car, the suspension of the car, if that makes sense for you. Now, if you have a hard carcass tire, the tread wear will be much better because of the hard carcass. You have now a better structure behind the tread wear that actually supports better the weight of the car, the weight and the travel of the suspension. Okay, you may not agree with my statements because you may have an excellent experience with your Michelin mounted car. Remember something, you may have 1, 2, 3, 4, 10 cars, okay? I actually work with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of cars, and I can see a pattern here developing. The soft compound carcasses are really worse for everything, even fuel consumption, believe it or not. Okay, now how can you avoid such problems if you want to continue with those soft tires? Because, for example, on the French cars, they have very soft, namely suspension. They really have to have a more soft tire, okay? Because the tire is actually part of the geometry of the suspension. It's awful. Okay, so if you have a really hard tire, a hard carcass tire on the flimsy suspension, you may have discomfort on your ride, okay? So each and every case is different, maybe different, and if you want to avoid this, firstly you can experiment when you are replacing tires. Just experiment, okay, with something else, but beware of something. Suspension shock absorbers, very, very, very important for this behavior. When you have bad shock absorbers, this symptom will be actually even worse, okay? Now, you can have this symptom where the tires are constantly open up and the thread blocks become higher and lower, like I showed you, and you can have very good and very perfect suspension. The problem, most of the times, the problem is not the suspension, okay? 80 or 90% of the times the problem is really the tires themselves. It's really that. And this can happen, or it is happening, in fact, on low profile tires, on high profile, wide, thin, everything is actually happening on all types of tires. It's because Chinese tires, Chinese crap, okay? As you have Chinese tires taking over most of the market, the other brands, the European ones and the Japanese brands, have to make a cheaper tire as well. And one of the ways to make a cheaper tire is to make a tire that is less good, in fact. Now we have European and Japanese tires and British tires that are actually worse on structure of the tire that they were a few years ago, before the arrival of the Chinese brands. Obviously, the Chinese brands are really, really worse on all of what I'm saying, really bad. So I'm here to explain you that even though you have a good known tire brand, like Michelin, for example, it can be really, really bad. Okay, now one more tip or two how to maintain your tire. Imagine this: you have excellent shock absorbers, excellent suspension, your alignment is really good, that is very important on the rear of the car, okay? But still you are still having problems, namely, for example, lack of traction on the rear axle. Here in Portugal, people just don't want to accept the fact that you need to have the higher traction on the back of the car. Being a front-wheel drive, rear-wheel drive, does not matter. You have to have an excellent rear traction on your car. So what does that mean? How can you do that without spending a lot of money and doing things as it should be done? So your front wheels, the tires will go first, right? Right. Now you want to put two new tires and you put them on the rear of the car. Okay, how can you do that? The ones that are on the rear now pass to the front and you put your new tires on the rear of the car. That will be good for several reasons. You don't have downsides on this. So putting your used tires on the front, now your tread wear will start to grip. The rubber that it was becoming plastified now will start to adhere because it is obliged to do so, because you have the brakes, you have the steering left and right, you have the acceleration, you have the weight of the engine pressing those tires down and making them grip. On the rear you don't have any of that, because for example I am doing here a roundabout, very popular in Portugal, the roundabouts, and it is on the roundabouts that you have the most accidents, because you do a left and then a right very suddenly, and the rear of the car spins out because the rear tires are plastified and people just don't want to mess with it. They don't want to replace them. They say, oh, my tires have 10 years, hooray! That is stupid. How can we have rubber that is good after 10 years? That is a problem actually with the used tires, but that is even worse of the problem. Okay, enough ranting. I know this is not an easy subject, it's very controversial, but believe me, I'm doing this not for a long time, okay, obviously, but I do deal with a lot of tires and suspension issues, and I see that the problem is almost always on the tire, okay? So what tires do I recommend you to use, okay? Actually, the tires that I recommend you to use are cheaper than the ones made by Michelin, oddly enough. Kumo tires, Bridgestone tires, Yokohama tires, and not much else. You can use Continental as well, and not much else actually, because with those tires you really have a good quality carcass. You will not have such tread wear, you will not have tire roar. On the Kumo tires they are very silent, very nice, and the car really gets in there, like almost like on rails. The sidewall of those tires are really stiff. It's really good, really very good. I actually had a friend who has a Series 2 BMW. He actually started to hate that car, go figure, and one of the problems was really the tires. He actually noticed that the car at speed on the highways, it was always doing like this, like a boat almost. He said to me, no, it must be shock absorbers because of the roll of the car. And I said, let's test it. Okay, so I have a machine on my workshop. We test the suspension as it should be tested, not like MOT testing. That is nothing. And I say to him, no, it's not the shocks. We check the alignment. It was almost bang on. And I said to him, look, when you had to change tires, let's rotate them enough to be the four, to assemble the 4 new ones, and let's switch them to Kumo tires, the extra ones. He had the uncooks from factory, and it was a little bit, I don't know, I don't want to mess with this. If the car came with uncook, if I use a different tire, maybe I am doing something worse. And it may be right, okay? And guess what? It solved the problem. Solved. Everything okay. And he actually said the car was never as good as it was with those types of tires. I'm not being paid to say good things about Kumo tires. I really do say that so because I actually work with them, and I can say they are much better than the Michelin tires. Okay, about Michelin tires, one more thing. If you are using 17, 18, 19, 20 inch tires of Michelin, this may not be applied to your case. Those tires are on the different league, okay? Those tires, and every tire 17 and up, are made with different methods and for a different purpose. I'm talking about here day-to-day use on day-to-day tire sizes, okay? Everything to 16, 17 inches of rim diameter, okay? Everything from then up, it's different, okay? Michelin is actually better at higher tire sizes. Not perfect, okay, not perfect at all, but better. What I mean is, it justifies a little bit more the price that you pay for a higher price Michelin. But still, if I had a car with, when I will have a car with 18, 19 inch rims, I really want a Giulia, okay? I will not use Michelin, never. It's awful, it's really bad. Here on these two tires you have a difference between a tire that is almost an even wear. Now this is the front tire of my Alfa 156. As you may already know, they have most of the wear on the inside, but as you can see, I could not use very much more of this tire, so I call this a success. Now, you have an almost perfect alignment on this tire, and on this one, it was also a front or rear, I don't remember, because it actually ran on both of the axles. But can you see here a problem on this tire? Over here and here. On this tire is not very easy to see, but what will happen on some Michelin tires, or some tires that have a soft carcass, 75% of your surface on the tire is actually straight, and then you suddenly have a low spot all around on your tire. And you think, oh, there is the alignment of the car is not good. Not so fast, okay? Sometimes what will happen is this part of the tire on the inside is actually broken, okay? And then the tire itself collapses in on itself. Well, how can you test that? If you pass your hand like you did on the other tire, you can actually feel the low and high spots in the tire. But what actually gives it away is a very steep step in between the thread locks, very high and very low, all around the tire, okay? So pay very attention for that. If you have that, normally the problem is the tires themselves. Now, on this case of this tire, the problem was not the tire itself, it was something else that I will talk about in a different video about suspension. It was really a problem with the Nivomat, but I will talk about that in another video. What tire brands do I use on my cars? No, not Kumo. Actually, yes, in one car. I use Pirelli on all of them. No, it's not the best brand ever. No, far from it. On this car, for example, I use the P0 Nero. They are good tires, okay, a little bit noisy, but with the camber that I have on my car, what can I do? Why does the camber matters? Because you are doing so much force on the inside of the tire that the tread wear actually bends and makes the tire a bit more noisy, okay? So I will mount Pirelli on all of my cars except my sedan, my 156 sedan, because I already did that. I already mounted my P7 205 55 16s, and they are not good. No. The P7 is not a good tire. No, I have to say I will mount Pirelli on all my cars, but the P7 is not a good tire. And why I'm doing that? For example, I am using here the Pirelli P0 Nero. What I should use on this car is a Bridgestone. And my Alfa 155, it is a really heavy car with small wheels, 15-inch wheels. I should use also a hard carcass tire, like a Bridgestone or a Kumo tire, for example. On my 75, no, it is a relatively soft and light car. I can use now a softer tire as well. I will use, I could use maybe a Mabor tire. It's like a Continental sub-brand. okay, or a Continental tire, but I will use actually my Pirellis. And I'm doing this because this is part of the experiments that I'm doing to make these videos, to make the channel. I prefer to suffer the blow myself and see and say, look, don't do this, because I already did it and it's not working, okay? Once more, I really deal with hundreds of tires a week, and I really see that the soft carcass tires are really bullshit. Very, very much bullshit. So don't use hard carcass tires. The Michelin sub-brands are really the worst that you can fit. The Continental sub-brands are less of a bad thing, okay? They are better than the Michelin sub-brands, but don't do that, guys, don't do that. Just don't. The Michelin, even the Michelin itself, it's for the price that you pay for a good Michelin tire. Imagine a 17-inch tire, 215, 16, 17 tire, used, for example, on the Toyota Avances. It's really bad, mainly those that are made on Spain. How can a Michelin tire made in Spain be worse than a Chinese tire made in China? Can you explain that to me? How? What the hell? Just stop buying them, okay? Hard carcass tires, that is the answer for your tire problems, okay? No matter the brand, good brands, hard carcass tires. If you are picking tires and your guy that mounts the tires does not know what that is, you must switch your tire guy. Yeah, okay. Guys, I know that there are a lot of videos explaining what tires to buy. I'm talking about price to quality relation, prices of the tires, brands, models, whatever. But one problem that I see on those videos is they always test new tires. Now, on this video, what I want you to understand is after you buy the tires, 1 year later, buy the new tires, 1 year later, 2 years later, 3 years later, how does that tire is holding up? Because when the tires are new, they are almost all good, okay? But what about 6 months later? What about 1 year later, 2 years later? You are doing an investment over time for your tires, okay? So I have here some examples just to finalize the video. I promise I try to be quick. I have here some examples that I want you to understand why should you use the right tire, and quality tires of course, but the right tire after 2, 3, 4, 5 years of usage. For example, here, these are the tires from my Alfa 33 for the restoration. These tires I mounted in almost new. They are from 2014, I think. You can actually see the date of production on the tire. I already showed you that on another video, but just to clarify here, you have a section of the tire that you know that it was put on during the manufacture of the tire. So in this case, we have here week 28 of the year 2016, okay, 16. So these tires are for 2014. And you may say, oh, but they have actually excellent tire threading yet. Yeah, but no, okay? So these tires are garbage, are really garbage. Just because they are old, they are starting to be very plastified. They are starting to develop cracks. They are opening. For example, I have here an almost used up tire, and the rubber is still very, very soft, very good still. Look, my fingernail marks are still over there. Okay? So this tire is not good for rain, of course, and this tire is good for rain, but awful in any other way. Not because of the brand of the tire, just because of the age of the tire. But it is a big problem when certain people are trying to buy used tires. About used tires, I will not recommend them ever unless they are for free, and still I will not recommend that because it's twice as expensive as buying the new tire. I can leave that for another video. But what happens is people will see the used tires, they see all this wear still to be made, and they say, oh, I will buy them, they are very nice and whatever. No, they're not. They're really, really bad. You will get hurt on these tires or any other tires that are more than 5, 6 years, okay? This is plastic. Don't do this, please don't do this, okay? Again, I hope you like this video. I hope you can consider subscribe, share with your friends, and hit the like button. As you are down there, please check the links on the description, and everything that I can do about cars, I will try to leave them down below on the links, as you have playlists to find what you are looking for. I see you next time, guys. Bye.